Hey, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. And you know what? Has this ever happened to you? Hey, yeah. Tonight? How many? Okay, let me see what I can throw together. One of those times when you get that phone call and you're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I know it's happened to me many times. But today we're going to go over a few things that if you have in your refrigerator, your pantry, and your freezer, you can pull this off and they'll think you've been cooking the entire day. So let's get started with one of my favorites, pimento cheese bites. We're going to put a little bit of a twist on it, but it's very simple, really delicious. I know at Fresh Market, I love their pimento cheese, but you know, they've also got some other kinds. Callie's Biscuit has a pimento cheese there that they sell, and there's just lots to choose from. So whether you like it spicy or mild, pimento cheese is always a great staple item, will last in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 weeks. I've toasted some marble rye bread, and I'm going to take the bread and I'm going to do a visual here because a great appetizer is only 2 bites. So I'm going to take this bread and do some little triangles that basically will come out to be 2 bites. Now I'm going to get the pimento cheese and I'm going to do just enough where you get a nice coating, but you've got some bread left on the side so it makes it easier to hold. It's not real messy. Once you've done that, prior to the show, I decided I would do some sauteed onions, some little grilled onions. So I've got those, and I'm going to put a few of those just on the top. There's nothing like sauteed onions, and you don't have to do this, but if you've got an onion in the refrigerator, that's perfect. My next staple item, whether it's in the pantry or in the refrigerator, are fig preserves. And that is a wonderful combination with the pimento cheese. That just really makes it great. And then I'm going to top it with a piece of crispy bacon. So look at that. What a beautiful appetizer that is. Just really simple. A little bit of pimento cheese, some sauteed onion. And you know, I love to use the Vidalia onions because they are just, you know, they're our state onion for one thing. In fact, somebody said, why don't we have the state vegetable be a Vidalia onion? That's a great idea. Okay, and then fig preserves. And you know, this time of year, figs are just wonderful, whether they're in a preserve or whether they're done. So this is one of those things. So let's talk about the items that we had here as far as your pantry is concerned. An onion. You know, a refrigerator is just not a refrigerator without an onion in the crisper. The pimento cheese, as I said, will last for 2 to 3 weeks. Something like fig preserves or apple jelly or strawberry jam. You know, that now famous cheese ring that we all love is a strawberry jam. And then bacon, we always have that in the refrigerator. And whether it's marbled rye or just a loaf of bread, you know, generally you have that in your pantry as well. So just something really quick. And when we come back from the break, we're going to put together something that is like the new rage, chicken and waffles. So we're going to put that together. So come back with me in just a few minutes. I'll keep making these and get a pretty platter going, and we'll get started on chicken and waffles right after the break. welcome back. And you know, if you're just joining us, I'm teaching you how to not go into a panic when you've got friends coming over at the last minute for appetizers, or even just, you know, when you've run out of ideas of things to do for apps. That's probably one of the more frequent questions I get asked is, I'm out of appetizer ideas. You know, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. So we are looking in our pantries and freezers and refrigerators and trying to come up with ideas with things that we already have on hand. So how many of you have Eggos or some sort of waffle, frozen waffle in the freezer? If you've got small children, I know the answer is yes. As are chicken nuggets. You know, there's no household with anyone under 5 years old that doesn't have chicken nuggets in the freezer. I've also got a really wonderful syrup from Fresh Market, a great 100% maple syrup. You may not have apple butter, but I bet you've got apple jelly. And then if honey mustard is not in your refrigerator or pantry, I bet honey is, and I bet regular mustard might be, and then a wonderful Dijon mustard, and you can mix it up and make it yourself. An apple in the refrigerator, and we are ready to go with a waffle chicken, fried chicken waffle appetizer. So I've got my waffle already toasted, and again, we want to remember that any appetizer you want to keep at a 2-bite portion. So I'm going to cut it in half and then into thirds, just so you've got just exactly 2 bites. Now this is where you want to be either generous or lenient depending on what your flavor preferences are. But I'm going to put just a little bit of honey mustard on the waffle. All right. Then I'm going to pour some of this maple syrup because I'm going to use my pastry brush for this part. Now you might say, you know, if you were using a plate and a fork at a cocktail party, you could pour the maple syrup over the top and it wouldn't make a difference. But since we want this to be a 2-bite pickup, I'm going to take my pastry brush and I'm actually just going to smear a little bit of that on the top. All right, now I've got my chicken nuggets, and to make this easy to eat, I'm going to cut those kind of on the bias into thin pieces so that they'll bite into really easily on the waffle. So we'll do either 1 or 2 little pieces on there. Then I'm going to top that with a little bit of the apple butter. And again, this could be apple jelly, but this apple butter has kind of a little bit of a spice to it, so it's really nice. And then I'm going to take an apple, thin slice of apple that I've put down in some lemon juice so it wouldn't turn brown, and look at there. You've got a really attractive appetizer with stuff that you had in the freezer. So let's do this one more time. We're going to take the small piece of the waffle, and these are multi-grain. You can use whatever kind you just happen to have. And you would have never dreamed that a breakfast food would turn into an appetizer. Then we're going to smear a little bit of the maple syrup on top of that. So now you've got kind of a sweet and savory feel to it. I'm going to put a couple of pieces of the fried chicken, a little bit of the apple butter, and then dollop with a little piece of the chicken. Of the apple. I'm getting so excited about the fried chicken. I just love the way that looks. So most people, when they pick this up, would probably take the apple and eat that first. But again, also create a wonderful way to display it, which I'm going to show you at the end. So all of these ingredients are things that you may already have, but at the end of the show today, I'm going to give you a list. So come back and join us for another part in just a moment. We're going to do an Eggs Benedict appetizer.
Ask Vera is brought to you by Georgia Bank and Trust and Southern Bank and Trust.
Miriam Brown from Augusta writes, I've been to cocktail parties before when no plates or forks were put out on the table. What do you recommend for cocktail food service? Miriam, here's your answer. So if you're having a casual cocktail party, I've certainly got food out that works very well in that particular setting with just a napkin. For example, a little piece of cheese on top of a cracker works really well just like that. But we want to make sure that if you're doing something like a hot dip, where you're going to actually go into the chafing dish, it would be great if you used a plate with that. I certainly recommend plates for a formal occasion. Certainly you've got on much nicer clothing at a formal cocktail party, and then just to be able to put things on a plate makes it a lot easier to mill around and visit with the other guests while you're there. So just having these plates handy doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to run out of food, but it's going to make your guest a lot more comfortable. I hope that answers your question, Miriam. If you've got a cooking conundrum, an etiquette query, or a hospitality protocol problem, ask Vera. That's right. Send your question to askvera@nbc26.tv. Welcome back. And you know, I do this so much, and people say, I can't believe that you don't eat everything you cook. And generally, I'm not that tempted, but for some reason today, I just want to eat everything that I'm making. You know, we forget sometimes about appetizers and what a great introduction that is in terms of hospitality and entertaining. And I'm just so excited about what we've put together today with things that we already have on hand. You didn't even know that you could create an appetizer with things that you just already have in the refrigerator or the freezer. So we've done now a pimento cheese bite that's wonderful. We've done a chicken and waffles, and now there's nothing better than eggs Benedict. And who would have ever dreamed that that could be an appetizer? So what I've done is I've taken some Canadian bacon and also just some really thinly sliced deli ham, and I've just put it in the pan and let it get, you know, nice and warm and just really just perfect. And I'm going to turn the heat off on that. And you know, the toaster is the other thing that I've used quite a bit today, and if you certainly everybody has one that they use, and I just love this Cuisinart toaster that I'm using today. It's just fantastic. But English muffins are the key ingredient. Now you're going to say everything you've done has had to do with starch, but most of the time appetizers do have a starch involvement. So we've used different things. We've had bread, we've had waffles, now we've got an English muffin. English muffins are another really great staple item. Great just in your bread drawer in the kitchen, but they're wonderful to have in the freezer to pull out in case of an emergency. So again, we want to go with the 2-bite method. And I'm going to cut this into a 2-bite size. And I guess it actually depends on whether you're feeding a lady or a gentleman on something like that. But I'm going to now take some butter and just douse a little bit of the butter on top of the English muffin. All right. Then we are going to do a little bit, and I'll just use the shaved ham first. So I want to cut that into portions that are appropriate for what the bite is going to be. So you don't want it to be too full. All right, so I've got a little bit of ham. Now, of course, a traditional Eggs Benedict is going to use a poached egg that's kind of runny, but we can't do that with a bite-sized appetizer. So I've got just a piece of hard-cooked egg, and this is another one of my favorite little utensils, the little egg slicer that you just put the egg in and it immediately slices it. And if you're doing something like a salad, you can flip it in there the other way and do it again, and you've got it all ready for egg salad or chicken salad or potato salad. Love that item. Okay, so now we've got a wonderful hollandaise sauce that we made earlier. And very simple. If you've got a blender, just you want to do that. I took 2 sticks of butter. I melted those on top of the stove. Then I poured 3 egg yolks in the blender. Once the butter was melted, I put it into a glass container, Pyrex measuring cup that I could pour with. I put that in the blender on low and just poured it really slowly, the hot butter into the egg yolks, and that just kind of fluffs it as it goes and gets it nice and thick. I added then a squeezed lemon to that mixture and a little bit of cayenne pepper. When I took it out of the blender, one of the ways that you want to know whether or not it's right is that you want to either see a figure 8 or a flower in the hollandaise sauce. So I'm going to take my spoon, and as you can see, that figure 8 is sticking. If I can remember how to make an 8. But you can see that. The other way that you know whether it's just the right consistency is the flour test. And this is where you blow and it makes a flower in the center. So I don't want to brag, but it looks like this is perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and place my eggs Benedict on my tray. I'm going to take a little bit of the hollandaise and go across the top. And again, just enough so it's not hard to eat. And then if you want to, you could garnish that with either some freshly cracked pepper or a little piece of bacon on top. And I just love it. So I'm going to finish putting these together. When we come back after the break, you know, there's no party that's complete without something sweet, and I've got a treat for a rainy day. I've had so much fun today, and you know what? I'm thinking about just calling a bunch of people and telling them to come over, because these appetizers are so scrumptious looking, and I'm hoping that they're going to taste just as good. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've watched today, and you know, you always want to end on a sweet note. So the last one is one of my childhood favorites, and I always like to throw something in that the children can help with, and actually a lot of what we did today they could. But my mother used to call this treat for a rainy day, I guess because she had 5 children, and if it was raining outside, that means we were all cooped up inside the house. She came up with something that was fun and unique that we could do when it was raining outside, maybe to watch the Disney Channel. But this is a saltine cracker, so that's another staple item that'll be in your pantry. Saltine crackers and peanut butter and marshmallows. So all I'm going to do, and one of the things that I want to also remind you about, if you'll do things like cover your sheet pan with aluminum foil or parchment paper, then you're going to get to enjoy the party too, because you're not spending the entire day or night washing dishes. All right, so we've got that. Now we're going to top each one with a marshmallow. And then I've got my broiler on 400 instead of 550. When you hit broil, it immediately goes to 550. Turn it down just a notch because these go really fast. So I'm going to move those over. I'll do those in a few minutes. But I did some ahead, and here they are. When you put them on the broiler, then they just toast up really pretty. So I'm going to transfer those to this really cute little skinny platter. And because these are really great warm, just bring a few of those out at a time and maybe pass with a cocktail napkin or put those out. And when they're gone, go do some more real quick. Last thing to that would be if you wanted to do a few of them with some chocolate syrup. Just take your chocolate syrup and go across. And you could even get some of that going on the pan as well. So we've ended on a sweet note. So let's go back over some of these things that are very important to be in the pantry. And as always, our recipes and suggestions are always on our website at VeryVera.com. So go there to look at what went to put these together today, so you'll have those items in your pantry. So first thing we did was the pimento cheese bite. So whether it's marbled rye or any kind of bread, you've got that, pimento cheese, onion, and bacon. Very easy to put together. And then secondly, we had from the freezer the chicken nuggets, the waffles, the frozen waffles. Then from the pantry, we had the apple butter, and from the refrigerator, I had an apple. So we put that together with a little bit of honey mustard and maple syrup, and you've got another great 2-bite size appetizer. Then next on the list with the eggs Benedict. English muffin that you can have in the freezer or in your bread drawer. We hard cooked an egg. I had Canadian bacon and shaved ham. And then I did a hollandaise sauce a little ahead. But you know, if you run into a problem with that, you can always use a mix. So having a packet of the hollandaise sauce mix on hand makes that very easy too. And again, the bacon. So when you're getting ready to have a cocktail party, you know, one of the things that I get asked quite a bit is, how do you know how much to prepare? Well, I always like to go with 2.5 appetizers per person. And certainly I probably wouldn't serve all of these for the same occasion because there is so much starch. But 2.5 things per person is always great. And then if you're having a larger party where you're maybe using your dining room table, I like to plan my menu around what it's going to look like on the table. So in that case, I'm going to do a centerpiece in the middle. I'm going to have something on both ends, and then 4 things on either side. If it's a smaller party, maybe less than 20 people coming over, something that you can put out on your coffee table or up on the bar is just perfect. All right, you've got some great ideas coming up for when folks are coming over. Again, reminder, go to our website at VeryVera.com. And no matter what you do, I want you to do it in good taste, and I'm going to have to start on sweets first. Come back and join me again next week for another episode of the Very Vera Show.